What I thought I knew. There's something I've been thinking about lately. Do we actually remember our childhood? Or do we remember what we've been told about it? Because the older I get, and the more I recognize that I have less time on this earth, the more I find myself trying to understand how I became the man I am today. I can look through a box of pictures, I can ask questions to my family, but more and more I find myself questioning what I was told. I try to understand what's really there. Recently, this stems from conversations, stories that I've shared my entire life as fact. Facts that have been thoroughly dismantled in my head. They were wrong, they were embellished, they were safe childhood lies, white lies. There's a story that stayed with me most of my life. It involves my grandfather's dog. But the truth is, I was an infant at the time. There's no way I'm remembering it directly. What I really carried was the story that came afterward. My grandpa Andy loved his Dalmatian. When I was born as the first grandchild, I was told the dog didn't quite adjust well to me being around. So the story went that, like any good Dalmatian, he was dropped off at a local fire station. Hi, my name is Drew, and this is Measured Twice, Live Once. Welcome to episode 2, What I Thought I Knew. I used to think I had a pretty clear picture of my childhood, the house, my dad, my grandfather, the shop and the basement. It all felt solid. But now I realize memory is layered. Some things we've lived, some things we are told, and some things become memory because they were repeated enough times. There were a number of pivotal moments in my private life that, looking back, shaped how I saw myself. Raising my hand in class and being told I was wrong and slowly raising it less and less as a result. Even though I learned the drums, I remember a concert where my band teacher made me play the triangle instead, and I cried. There was even a time I was encouraged to throw rocks at cars because it seemed cool at the moment, only to have an angry driver pull over, chase me down, grab me by my brown velour shirt, and scream at me. But let's talk about that dog. My grandfather had a Dalmatian named Michelle, which I always thought was a strange name, a person's name, not a dog's name. But he named her because his youngest daughter liked the name. I was told he loved that dog. She was one of the most important things in his life. And then I was born, his first grandchild, his first grandson, and he loved me. For years, I believed that after I was born, the dog became aggressive due to jealousy and had to be sent away. It made sense in my mind. Dalmatians are known for being used on fire trucks. They look right on fire trucks. In my mind, it became this perfect story, a firehouse dog, a mascot. I told that story for years, probably hundreds of times. And over time, it became clearer and more detailed every time I told it. I even added details later, like the idea that Dalmatians are deaf, something I only learned much later, using Google. But later I learned that wasn't really true. She wasn't sent to live out her life on a fire truck. She was put to sleep, eternal rest. And then I was told something else, that she had actually attacked me, that they had no other choice. After telling the fire station story for decades, that completely changed everything. My mind was blown. I didn't tell that story anymore. I grew up in a house where work was just part of life. My dad had a shop in the basement. It wasn't mine yet. I was just around it, watching it, absorbing it. Our basement bathroom had 2 doors, one in the front and one in the back. You would open the second door, reach up and pull a string on a spring and turn on the light. And there it was. My dad's shop, small, filled, used, perfectly arranged, clean. The light smell of stain. Bags of thin set that wisped into the air when you moved them. The bench was an old door covered in paint splatter, oil drips, and traces of sawdust. A small hole in that door collected errant screws, washers, and shop detritus. Filled with tools, not a collection of tools, but tools that had been used relentlessly. They all had stories. I didn't really start getting my own tools until I was 19. Before that, the shop was just part of the environment I grew up in. Whenever something broke, first try and fix it. When something was needed, first try and make it. Basic man traits. Do it yourself and fix it yourself. Why weren't we taught to ask for help? There were other things in the background too. Alcohol was one of them. It wasn't unusual to me, it was just there. My grandfather had a liquor cabinet, floor to ceiling, liquor below, glassware on top. When you opened up the middle, it dropped down to form a bar. Shakers, ice buckets, shot glasses, swizzle sticks, and dry roasted peanuts. Cocktail hour was twice a day on weekends, and my grandfather's favorite drink was Dewar's with a splash of water. Even as a kid, he made drinking sexy. Going to a local bar after a hard day's work laying towel resulted in a shot with a beer chaser. Men only, laughing, smoking, playing shuffleboard with metal pucks. I can still smell the sawdust, the smoke, the drinks. As a kid, I thought this is what a man does, what he is, his reward, his right. On my mom's side, the history existed too. Her father was Irish, and he was an alcoholic. That was one of those things that was known without being deeply explained. He died at an early age. He was hard to deal with. Thank God my mother had amazing grandparents. They provided refuge. I don't know the full story on his addiction, but being an alcoholic myself helps fill in the blanks. Even small things work that way. I was a hyperactive kid. At some point I was told I was allergic to chocolate, and that just became true to me. As a child, you can be told almost anything and you believe it. My dad once bought a station wagon that had cruise control. The next day I bragged to all of my classmates, "Well, you know what? My dad's new car can drive by itself." They all laughed at me. I was humiliated. What had I got wrong? Things like that happen so often that I'm not sure that they happened at all. When you have trauma like I did with physical lashings as a child, you just want to be loved, liked, accepted. What stories have you told just thinking about make no sense? Looking back, I don't know where that line sits anymore between explanation and fact. That's what I keep coming back to. Childhood isn't a clean recording. It's built from pieces, stories, and photographs, feelings, family interpretations. And over time, those things become memory. The shop was always there in the background, but it didn't really become mine until later, when I started getting my own tools. That didn't happen until I was 19, and that's when things started to shift. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week. Keep building.